What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitico Response. We cover political news. We keep you up to date and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Now, I have kind of gotten away a little bit with covering the corporate press and all the lies of the corporate press. I've kind of got away from, the mission of this channel, which is basically to get the message out to people, to inform them about their congressmen, about who the hell they're voting into office that make the rules that we have to live by, right? Like, Congress is the most important elections that we can have. Why? Because Congress is the most powerful institution in this country, and Congress currently is filled with a bunch of feckless, spineless, greedy people that are only there for themselves. They don't care about the American people. They don't care about me and you. They vote in the interests of the corporations because the corporations are the people that pay them, right? Like, you might think, oh, well, it's taxpayers. They get a paycheck. No, these people raise money, raise funds, and listen to the lobbyists in Washington, D.C. There is an entire industry based around lobbying to these congressional members. That's insane, y'all. Like, that's truly insane. These people don't care about us at all. They'll get up on national television and say they're caring, they do this and blah, 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 but they really don't. And their voting record shows that. It proves that outright. Like, once again, I tell everybody all the time, go to congress.gov, look up your congressman, check out their voting record, and you will see these people vote in the interests of their own interests, their corporative interests. I don't even know if that's a word, corporative. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let me know down in the comments section. I have no freaking clue. But I've kind of gotten away from that, right? Like, I'm constantly covering the corporate press and their lies. And like, anybody who was around before, anybody who was watching my videos more than 8 months ago knows that I was uploading a buttload of congressional committee videos, right? Like, I'd get on there and talk a little bit about them. And that was about it. And I got away from that because the corporate press just loves to lie. I was reading out the news and I'd see all this and I'm like, man, I got to talk about this, because people that read this stuff out that don't follow Congress, that don't follow politics too hard, are going to read this and be like, what in the hell is going on? The corporate press, word stuff, they twist, they outright lie, essentially, by twisting their words. And then they ultimately end up debunking themselves because they must tell the truth, otherwise they'll get called out on it. But they word it in such a way that they can do that, they can get away with it. And so I started pointing that stuff out because I feel like it's important. But getting back to Congress, anybody out there that follows this channel normally knows that my favorite congressman, my number one congressman, is Chip Roy, because he doesn't care about political sides. He doesn't care about it. He's a Republican, naturally. He's a Freedom Caucus member, but he has no problems whatsoever about getting on the House floor and railing against Republicans, because we have some terrible Republicans out there, y'all. These people are supposed to be conservative, and they don't vote in the interests of conservatism. That's how we get $1.7 trillion deficit spending. Yes, when a congressional member sees a budget from the federal government that is $1.7 trillion more than what they take in, that should throw up a red flag. People should stop and say, how the hell are we going to approve this and appropriate the money to handle this when we don't have enough money to do so? That makes no sense. And then what's most shocking about that is they go ahead and vote in the interest of, they go ahead and approve it. Like, what? How the hell can you approve that? That makes absolutely zero sense to me. But I love these congressional committee hearings, and I promise you there's a video coming up. I know I've been rambling for, 4 minutes now, 4.5 minutes now, but, I can't help but stress these points because I think that some people don't even know exactly how corrupt Congress has become. Check this out.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for appearing before the Judiciary Committee. I read a report recently that the D.C. United States Attorney's Office had only devoted 5% of resources to January 6th prosecutions. But I've also understand from many conversations that the most or all of the United States U.S. Attorney districts contributed an AUSA or an investigator to the effort. Can you confirm whether the department across the board has been providing additional support from other U.S. attorneys' offices in terms of AUSAs or investigators contributing for the January 6th investigations?
Yes, that's true, and that began before I became Attorney General. That continued after I became Attorney General.
So multiple resources across the department have been devoted to that effort, including other districts?
Yes,
okay.
Because of the significance of an attack on democracy in this body.
I just love that setup. I love how he says they only devoted 5% of resources of the DOJ to January 6th investigations. I just love that. Think about that number for a second. The entirety of the Justice Department devoted 5% to January 6th investigations almost 4 years later. This is a current committee hearing from just the other day. They are still devoting a significant portion of their resources to investigating January 6th. Why? Most of these people have been sentenced to jail and have served their prison sentences and are getting out. Huh? Why are we still investigating January 6th? And I love how he says, oh, the attack on democracy and this body. Like, no, I'm sorry, that wasn't an attack on democracy. The Capitol is not democracy, folks. Like, they use democracy like it's a noun or something, right? Like, no, it's not democracy. These people truly believe that the January 6th riot, quote-unquote riot, was actually meant to stop the certification of the Electoral College, of the vote count. Yeah, that's what they think it was meant to do. No, that wasn't meant to. They were protesting that, and it got a little bit out of hand. But the vast majority of the protesters that were there, right, like it's mostly peaceful protests, right? Like everybody on the right will look at that and say, yeah, those people that were being violent, yeah, put them in jail. Go right ahead. That's fine. But when you take someone like the Proud Boys leader and give him 22 freaking years, that's insane. That is outright insane. This guy wasn't even in Washington, D.C., didn't go to the Capitol at all, and he got 22 years. But I just love this setup. Watch this.
The reason I'm asking about that is in terms of the focus of the resources of the department. If staff would put up on the screen, there's a number of people here that I want to see if you can identify who they are. What we have here in the bottom right-hand corner is a woman named Lizbeth Medina. She was found dead in a bathtub in Texas. Her mom found her, hoping to see her in a parade that night. She was killed by Rafael Govea Romero, who was here illegally. On the bottom left-hand corner, you have Laken Riley. She was killed by 26-year-old Jose Ibarra, arrested by U.S. Customs and Border Protection after he unlawfully entered the United States near El Paso, Texas. Up above, you have officers Richard Yaruso, 26, and Officer Christopher Abreu, 26. Both were shot this last weekend by Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, a 19-year-old Venezuelan national apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol after he unlawfully entered the United States near Eagle Pass in July of 2023. What we have is a continued effort by the federal government to fail to secure the border of the United States, and Americans are dying or getting shot. In this case, law enforcement getting shot, 2 young women who are dead. My question for you with respect to the department is, do you believe that Texas has a right to defend itself and to ensure that people who are in this country are not here illegally, and that we can protect the citizens of Texas from people unlawfully here who are committing crimes to Lizbeth Medina, who's no longer with us because the federal government refused to do its job? Yet the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas to stop implementation of SB 4. So do you say, as the Attorney General of the United States, Texas does not have a right to defend itself and to protect our citizens from murder by people who have come here illegally into the United States?
I say, as the Attorney General and as a human being, that my heart goes out to the families, that these are terrible, terrible events. And I say, secondly, as the Attorney General, the way to stop people like this from coming into the United States is to give more resources to the Border Patrol so that they can prevent...
Boom, instantly pass the buck. Just like what, dude? Really? Your heart goes out to these people, and then you're going to pass the buck as far as responsibility? No, I'm sorry. That's not how life works. That's not how reality works. The federal government, Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, Merrick Garland, are absolutely in charge of the border. They are supposed to be securing our security, our safety. They're supposed to stop the invasion that's going on that southern border, right? Like, they are absolutely violating federal law, right? We get into this right quick, okay? So all of these people coming across the border don't know about the asylum process, but they are absolutely classifying these people as asylees, just immediately classifying them and letting them go, right? Like, because it's compassion or whatever. No, I'm sorry. That's not how reality works. 15 million people that have come across that southern border in the past 3.5, almost 4 years cannot be political asylees. That's not how this works. And now Joe Biden claims to be doing something on that border, but he's not doing anything. He hasn't shut that border down. He's just funneling everybody into specific ports of entry that are not actual ports of entry. They're irregular ports of entry, as so notated by the corporate press. But passing the buck, Texas passed a law, SB 4. That's what he was just talking about. Passed this law to detain people that are here illegally, right? And the federal government is absolutely devoting resources, significant resources, to stopping Texas from doing this. Why? Because they say it supersedes federal authority. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. That would be an assistance. They were helping the federal government do their job. So why would the federal government not want help from local authorities, right? Logically, it makes total sense. Sure, they're not superseding their authority at all. They're assisting their authority. They're giving help. Why not take that help? But instead, they're going to fight against Texas to stop Texas from helping the federal government ensure our safety. That's what the Biden administration is doing, and that's why I always say the Biden administration is the worst administration in this country. They're fighting against assistance to themselves. What? They're allowing these people to pour in, and we know why. I'm not going to go over all that because it's ridiculous. But they absolutely fight to break the law. They are breaking the law. All of these people are not political asylees. They're coming here for a better life. That is a migrant. That's an economic migrant, to be technical, right? Once they come across that border illegally, they're a criminal alien. But they are devoting significant resources to this, devoting significant resources to prosecuting January 6th rioters, quote-unquote rioters, right? Like the vast majority of those people did not riot, were not violent, did not trespass, but they are getting prosecuted anyway. That's why people on the right are constantly talking about a two-tier justice system. It's actually a three-tier justice system. You got, your protected class, your political class, and Democrats. Then you have Republicans and conservatives that are absolutely getting politically persecuted. And then you have just the average everyday person that if you do something wrong, you get caught up in the system. Yeah, that's your three-tier justice system. But they're absolutely suing Texas to stop Texas from doing this. And it makes no sense whatsoever. As a matter of fact, once again, I'll stress this point. The Biden administration is suing to continue to go onto social media platforms to have voices like mine and like yours shut down if they don't like the opinions that we have. They are devoting significant resources, right? Like, I'm paying for them to shut me down. It's outright BS, and this is why I tell everybody, I don't care who you vote for, right? Like, I've had recently a video kind of go, it got a lot more traction than what I thought it was going to, and a whole hell of a lot of RFK supporters got on there and were defending RFK, which, hey, look, I like RFK a lot. I've said before, and I'll say it again for those people if they watch this video, that if Trump wasn't in this race, I would most certainly be voting for RFK because he's leagues better than anybody else in the race, including DeSantis. I'll get out there and say that. Yeah, I don't care for Ron DeSantis all that much. He's a rhino. in my opinion. And that's what he would be. He would be an establishment politician if he were to win the presidency. RFK Jr. is not. This guy will absolutely go in like a wrecking ball, like Trump will do, and tear the federal bureaucracy apart. And that's what we need. We need that corruption destroyed, gotten out of our system, get it out of there, and implement a new, just get new people in there. We don't need a new system. The system is beautiful. The system works when it's not absolutely corrupted like it is right now.
Mr. Attorney General, no.
You don't want to
We the people of Texas, money's not going to solve the problem when the Department of Homeland Security and the President of the United States refuse to enforce the law, ignore the policies, and Lizbeth Medina would be here alive today if we were following the law. Laken Riley would be here today if we had not released a killer onto the streets of the United States of America through parole policies that this administration is advancing. And the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas in court, taking valuable resources to go against the people of Texas when Texas simply wants to say that we should have a say in stopping people who are illegally, arrest them, and be able to deal with that on our own terms when the federal government refuses to do its job.
As reflected in our filings in that case, we are in court because the United States Supreme Court in Arizona versus the United States held that states cannot adopt their own immigration.
You're in court because you're choosing to try to stop Texas from enforcing the laws that the federal government is refusing to enforce. And by the way, that's not the same thing as Arizona. But a final question in my last minute. The Department of Justice did not assert privilege with regard to the transcript, correct?
That's right.
And you articulated a minute ago to my colleague that the best evidence rule says that the transcribed copy is admissible, right? But how can you claim privilege in the face of not just a legislative inquiry, but a constitutional impeachment inquiry? How can you claim privilege for something that you just testified was effectively the same thing? How can you claim privilege for the audio of the transcript you just testified was the same?
I just testified the words are the same. Sensing an audio is different. You have not given any explanation, and there's nothing in the impeachment resolution that would make a difference with respect to audio.
I respectfully disagree. I would ask you one last question. Is the decision not to prosecute President Biden for effectively the same crime for which DOJ is prosecuting President Trump, is it because DOJ has determined the president is not mentally fit to defend himself and stand trial for his crime, but former President Trump is?
I say again, that's an inaccurate description of Mr. Hur's report, and I would rest on Mr. Hur's report.
It's the only assertion he made. I yield back.
These people absolutely do not care about oversight. I talk about this all the time. This is especially egregious because the system that we have, the checks and balances, if one of those bodies of government does not abide by the checks and balance system, then we don't have a checks and balance systems. We don't live in a free country. We live in an authoritarian dictatorship. That's what the Biden administration is attempting to do by denying oversight. What they're talking about is Robert Hur's investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents. They want the audio tapes from the interview that Robert Hur did with Joe Biden. They gave a redacted transcript of that interview. And congressional investigators said, no, this is not enough. We want the audio tapes. We want to hear Biden's inflections. We want to hear his pauses. We want to hear exactly what he said. We don't want a redacted version of this. We want the full tape, right? And the Biden administration said, no, you don't have any reason to have this. What? They're doing an impeachment investigation, for God's sakes, looking into corruption of the President of the United States. And you're telling the congressional body, the congressional investigators who are overseeing the federal government, who are supposed to keep a check on the federal government to make sure they don't get out of line and start doing stuff that goes against the Constitution, to make sure there's no corruption in the federal government. And you're telling these people that they can't investigate the federal government for corruption? What? It just blows my mind, the level of insanity that these people claim, the level of arrogance that they have, that they think they can tell the overseers exactly what the overseers can oversee, right? Like, no, you can't see this. No, I'm sorry. That's not how this works. I wish to God that Congress had some sort of law enforcement body right? Like, I'm not talking about the Capitol Police. Like, I wish that there was some way that we could pass a law, pass something that allowed the Federal Marshal's Office to work as a law enforcement arm of Congress, so that when we have a federal bureaucracy like the Biden administration get out of hand, we can send a marshal to go and arrest Merrick Garland for not complying with congressional oversight. You have to have the checks and balances system. Otherwise, you don't have checks and balances. Like I said, you have tyrannical dictatorship, because they can just do whatever the hell they want to. And the Biden administration has absolutely proven that they don't care about oversight. They don't care about the judicial system in this country. They don't care about law and order, because the Supreme Court has said, hey, you can't do this. You can't just waive student loan debt, for God's sakes. And what did the Biden administration do? They went ahead and did it anyway. The Supreme Court told the Biden administration, you can't contact social media companies and have people banned outright. You can't have their posts deleted. That goes against the First Amendment of the Constitution. And what does the Biden administration do? I don't care. I'm suing you to continue to do this, and they're still doing it till this day. They don't care about us, and I don't see how any sane person can absolutely vote for Joe Biden after learning this knowledge, right? Like, that's why I tell everybody, please share this video with Democrats, with anybody who is not sure of who they're going to vote for the next president. Vote for Trump. Vote for RFK. Vote for Jill Stein, for God's sakes. Do not vote for Joe Biden. That is absolutely nuts, and you are a crackpot, insane individual if you get behind Joe Biden and push this administration further, because that's all they're going to do is continue to do what they've done for the past 4 years, and I don't think our country can take any more of it. Of course, I'm not saying the country's going to fall apart, but we are losing our freedoms by the day under this administration, and it's just getting outright insane. But I think I've made my point quite clear, and I think I've rambled on for long enough for y'all to understand exactly where I'm coming from on this one. But I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Let me know, do you are you still behind Joe Biden, for goodness sakes? After seeing this? But like I said, let me know. That's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.